On the night of our wedding anniversary dinner, I received an anonymous gift, a high-def video. In it, my husband Ethan, the industry's rising star who always called me his forever, was clutching his firm's new intern Briar, kissing her neck with movie star hunger. "Easy baby," he crooned in a voice I'd never heard, oily and fawning. "The lead designer slot on South Point is yours. Serena's old concept is prehistoric. I'll optimize it for you, and you'll become an instant legend." My knuckles went white around the phone. My blood turned to ash. The prehistoric scheme he smeared at was the dream I'd staked my entire reputation on, the one I'd shelved to pave his road. He hadn't merely betrayed my heart. He was pilfering my soul. The lock clicked and Ethan stepped in, cradling a sheath of champagne roses, wearing the perfect devoted smile. "Happy anniversary, honey." I walked up, took the flowers and outsmiled him. "Welcome home. I prepared a surprise for you." The surprise? I chose to hurl him from heaven straight into hell. What kind of surprise? Ethan's eyes glittered with expectation as he shrugged off the suit jacket and draped it over the sofa. It was the exact jacket from the video. Even the monogrammed cuff links I'd given him glinted like chips of ice. I produced the bottle of Chateau 82 I'd decanted earlier and poured him half a glass. "Have some wine first. The best comes last." He didn't suspect a thing. He tossed it back. Adam's apple bobbing like a predator about to feast. "Little Serena, you look gorgeous tonight." He moved in for a hug. I sidestepped and pointed at the laden dining table. "The food's getting cold. Every dish is what you once loved." I'd spent the whole afternoon cooking. Yet now the irony tasted stronger than any spice. Once a man's heart drifts, his palate follows. Between bites, he bragged about his company's latest triumphs, especially South Point. "Our team produced a prodigy, Briar. Pure genius." I added a tiny bit of guidance. "Boom. I hear through the grapevine we're 80% likely to win." Greed sparkled in his eyes. He was already counting the trophies. I sliced my ribeye steak and asked slowly, "Really? Congratulations, Director Vance." The formal title made him blink. In 5 years of marriage, I'd only ever called him Ethan or honey. "Little Serena, what's wrong?" He sensed the chill. "Nothing," I answered, lifting a flawless smile. "Just proud of you." He exhaled and resumed his swagger. Watching that smug face, my heart felt cryogenic. Briar, a fresh graduate with genius designs. She'd simply exhumed a trunk draft of mine, tweaked a few cosmetic lines, and labeled it divine inspiration. And Ethan, who'd built his brand on my father's capital and my network, felt no shame gifting my life's work to his mistress. After dessert, he grabbed my hand, impatient. "Little Serena, where's the surprise?" "Bedroom." His breath carried wine fumes, his gaze turning glassy. I slipped free, lifted the unfinished bottle and stepped close. "Don't rush," I whispered. Then, under his stunned stare, I appended the entire bottle over his head. Crimson River soaked his perfect hair, traced his shocked face, and bled into his bespoke white shirt. He looked like a drowned rooster. "Serena, have you lost your mind?" The mask finally tore. He roared. "Lost it." I hurled the bottle aside and closed in. "Look at yourself, filthy." I whipped out my phone, tapped the clip and shoved the screen under his nose. "Like your anniversary present." Moans and dirty endearments echoed through the silent living room. Ethan's complexion went corpse white. He lunged for the phone. I danced back. Where did you get that?" His voice quavered. "Not your concern," I said, arms folded, looking down at him. What matters is game on. He'd never seen this version of me. In his universe, I'd always been the gentle, clingy vine. "Little Serena, let me explain. She seduced me. It's just a fling. You're the one I love." Same tire script every time. I couldn't be bothered. I strode to the foyer drawer and slapped another dossier against his chest. Save the explanations for my attorney. Divorce papers. Every page demanding he be stripped to the shirt on his back. Reading the clauses, his pupils contracted. He seized my wrist, crushing bone. "Serena, you dare?" he hissed. "I'm the corporate owner. Without me, you're zero." I wrenched free, rubbed the red ring on my skin and smiled. "Really? Let's dance." That night, I locked him outside. I listened to the arc from curses to begging. My heart registered nothing. The old Serena died the moment she pressed play on that video. The next morning the doorbell shrilled me awake. I opened to find not a hungover Ethan but sweet as milk Briar in a virginal white dress holding a paper bag of breakfast. Seeing me, she arranged her features into practiced surprise, a flicker of panic flitting across her eyes. "Ms. Vance. I brought a file for Director Vance." He didn't answer his phone after last night's drinks, and I was afraid it might be urgent. She lifted the folder like a timid fawn. I leaned on the jamb, arms crossed, enjoying the matinee. Such talent. Hollywood's loss, huh? I plucked the breakfast and flipped it into the trash can beside me. Director Vance never came home. "Give it to me. I'll pass it along." Her smile spasmed but resettled into pitiful innocence. "Thank you, Vance. Honestly, I adore you. You're starlight that won the international gold. Every architecture student worships you." Starlight shimmered in her wide eyes. She played the ostrich act to perfection. That's why my own smile never reached my eyes. "Then you know Starlight was about loyalty and guardianship. Talent is good, kid. Just keep it on the road." I weighed the words loyalty, guardianship, and road. Her grin collapsed. She hadn't expected the gentle wife to speak like a razor. "You're right, Vance," she said, bowing chastened. Yet resentment and venom flashed in her depths before she turned away. I slammed the door, cutting off her stage act. Back in the now tidy living room, courtesy of the dawn cleaning crew, I brewed black coffee and walked into the study I'd sealed for 5 years. Books in regimented rows, the huge drafting table, and on the wall the original Starlight sketch, silent witnesses to my vanished brilliance. For Ethan I traded prodigy for household cook. I called it love. Now I knew it was a long con. I booted the long-dead laptop and opened a dormant inbox. There lay an unfinished proposal, my real magnum opus for South Point, codenamed Phoenix. Ethan and Briar thought they'd stolen my dream, but they'd only seen Plan B. Flashy yet soulless, a bait I deliberately left on the hook. Plan A. This Phoenix design married a composite cladding to holographic facade technology, knitting heritage and tomorrow into one breathtaking monument. This would catapult me back into the firmament. I dialed a number. "Hello, Victor. It's Serena on the other end." My old mentor, the titan of American architecture, gasped, "Little Serena, finally. I thought you'd resigned yourself to playing house forever. I need a favor." I cut in. "Enter me into the South Point design bid." A beat of silence. "You sure? Ethan's outfit is the front runner. A public showdown between spouses. The press will gorge." "Victor," I said, calm and steel. "I'm not the woman you remember." I pictured his brows shooting up. He knew my gifts and had rued their burial. "Done," he barked. "Whatever you need, ask. Let's see what my star pupil unleashes." I hung up, watched the sun climb, and inhaled. Ethan Briar curtain call. My turn. For 24 sleepless hours, I polished Phoenix until the renderings glowed. Then I incorporated Phoenix and on the final afternoon of registration, uploaded the entry. The list published online, and the architecture world detonated. Everyone knew Serena, the genius who'd vanished at her zenith, was back. The most stunned was Ethan. His call came, fury crackling through the speaker. "What the hell are you doing launching a studio bidding against me? Is this some sick power play?" I listened unmoved. "Director Vance, business is business. You walk your sunshine road. I'll cross my lone plank bridge." The words failed him. "You're still my wife." "Not for long." I ended the call and flicked the phone to silent. Storm clouds were gathering. I'd already donned armor. At the pre-bid briefing we collided. Ethan arrived with his genius designer Briar swaggering. I came alone, dialed to maximum seating chart side by side. He spotted me, face darkening, a cocktail of wrath, bewilderment, and something unreadable. Briar pined like a victorious queen, wearing Chanel's latest and the diamond necklace Ethan had snagged at auction days earlier. She stretched out her manicured hand, sugary sweet. "Vance, what a surprise. I've heard praise for your brilliance. Can't wait to witness it myself." I ignored the hand, my gaze drifting to the diamonds. "Lovely necklace, but wearing stolen goods. Doesn't the ice burn?" The double-edged gems and plagiarized drafts sliced home. Her color drained, fingers dangling in empty air. Ethan thrust her behind him, warning in a low growl. Serena, watch your mouth. We're in public. Don't embarrass yourself. Losing it. I laughed, the sound ice cold. Director Ethan, who's really the one losing it? You pawn off someone else's life work to impress your mistress and dream of becoming famous in one battle. That's some loud arithmetic you're doing. You're talking nonsense. Ethan's eyes flickered. He knew I'd hit the mark. Nonsense or not. We'll see when the presentations start. I stopped looking at him, sat down, and pulled out my tablet to review the project materials. I radiated a unique calm, the confidence forged by years of professionalism. On construction sites, even when scaffolding collapsed beside me, I could evacuate crews without blinking. Gee, this little scene didn't even register. Ethan and Briar were choked speechless. They could only sit down solemnly. Briar trembled with rage, glaring daggers at me. Soon the presentations began. By draw, Ethan's firm went first. Briar, as leader, walked to the podium. She inhaled, then launched into the optimized scheme Ethan had handed her. Daydreams admittedly looked pretty. The slides dazzled, slick animations wowing every layman in the room. But who am I? I'm the original author of that design. Every detail, every data point is burned into my brain. Briar spoke with fiery passion, twisting my concept, a symbiosis of architecture and nature, into her urban oasis. She even declared shamelessly that it was her month-long retreat, an original work born of blood and tears. From my seat I curved my lips in a cold smile. When she finished, Professor Zhao, known for his brutal honesty, adjusted his glasses and fired. White, your scheme looks beautiful, but have you considered how the suspended sky garden will bear its own weight for your drawings? The structure violates basic mechanics. Once built, it'll be shoddy construction. The question hit the bullseye. Briar's face flushed red. She stammered. We'll refine the tech in later stages. Later? If the design phase can't solve it, do you expect construction to magic it into existence? The professor pressed. And your ecomposite cladding figures are utterly flimsy. You list cutting-edge photovoltaics but quote conversion rates from 10 years ago. Don't you trust your own work, or do you simply not understand it? Briar was struck dumb, cold sweat beading. She looked to Ethan for help. Ethan looked sick. He hadn't spotted the lethal holes in the plan. He left them. He'd only cared about using it to court Briar, never reviewing it carefully. Whispers rippled through the hall. Everyone saw the scheme was flashy but hollow. Just as Briar teetered on collapse, the moderator announced, "Time next. Serena of Phoenix." I stood, straightened my collar, and walked to the podium under every spotlight. Without glancing at the flustered Ethan and Briar, I slipped my flash drive into the laptop. When the word Phoenix filled the screen, the room held its breath. Good afternoon, judges, professors. My scheme is called Phoenix. My voice wasn't loud, yet it reached every corner. No fancy opener. I went straight to the point. On the screen appeared an ink-washed skyline, and at the city's heart, a future-facing yet classical building rose slowly. My concept springs from an ancient legend, the Phoenix reborn in flames. It symbolizes this city's past, present, and future. I skip gaudy effects, relying on solid expertise to detail structure, materials, humanism, and sustainability. When I reached the load-bearing structure, I magnified the 3D model to display my mortise tenon steel skeleton. This structure borrows from ancient joinery wedded to aerospace-grade alloys. It solves long-span suspension and raises seismic ratings to maximum. It is the building skeleton, tough yet supple. The moment I finished, Professor Zhao sprang up. Mortise tenon and steel skeleton. Good Lord, my colleagues and I chased that puzzle for 15 years without the optimal fix. Young woman, how did you crack it? I smiled. Because I studied thousands of drawings and personally restored ancient buildings. The answer isn't in a computer. It's in the wisdom of our ancestors. Joe nodded repeatedly, admiration shining in his eyes. Next, I showed how holographic facade tech would let the exterior display a dancing phoenix at night. How rainwater harvesting would achieve net zero water use. How every space marries utility with art. Throughout, I was confident, poised, professional, a queen commanding the field. When I bowed, silence hung for several beats. Then thunderous applause erupted. Every judge clapped. My mentor Victor even brushed away tears. Across the aisle, Ethan and Briar looked as though they'd swallowed poison. Briar's face was paper white, her eyes glued to the glowing word Phoenix, jealous, disbelieving. She knew she'd lost, and lost spectacularly. Ethan slumped like a puppet with its strings cut. At last, he understood that what I'd given him wasn't an outdated draft, but a deliberate trap. He thought he'd stolen treasure, yet he'd merely picked up scrap iron. The real treasure had stayed in my hands. He stared at me, eyes swirling with regret, resentment, and a hint of fear. He feared this side of me, a side he'd never truly known. After the session, industry peers crowded forward, exchanging cards, praising, proposing collaborations. I answered each politely. Vance, your design is art. Serena, you've made every woman proud. Phoenix is the future. I stood and circled. A star reborn. Then an unexpected figure approached. Cynthia, CEO of a rival top firm known for ruthless acuity. Dance, she said, extending a hand, smile sharp and straight. Your design dazzles, but your studio is only a shell. Interested in a deal? I bring cash and talent. Together, we can turn Phoenix into reality. I looked at her, ambition and calculation glittering in her eyes. She wanted more than blueprints. She aimed to crush her old adversary, Ethan's company. I shook her hand, lips curving slightly. Cynthia, my design's partner. Only with the truly sincere. My sincerity is simple, she murmured, leaning close. Our mutual enemy will never rise again. I smiled. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Just then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Round 1, you win. But don't celebrate too soon. The game has only begun. I stared at the message, eyes narrowing. Who sent it? Talks with Cynthia flowed smoothly. She's sharp. She knows my value exceeds any single scheme. She handed Phoenix 40% equity and promised total creative control. She'll bankroll and supply resources, nothing more. Her words. I'll make the money. You make history. We clicked immediately with her weighty backing. I ended it. Phoenix overnight transformed from an empty shell to a powerhouse with top-tier staff and resources. News broke. Ethan's share price dropped. The board turned on him. His throne wobbled. Desperate, he bombarded me with calls. WhatsApp. Tearful apologies. Painting himself as the abandoned victim. Little Serena, I was wrong. So wrong. Give me one more chance. Please. It was Briar. She seduced me. I fired her. Let's go back to the way we were. 5 years. You can just walk away. For the love we shared. Don't do this. Reading them made me sick. Why didn't he think of that before? I ignored every line, blocked him, and forwarded the screenshots and the cheating footage to my divorce lawyer. I want more than divorce papers. I want him to pay the steepest price for betrayal. Meanwhile, Briar's life also cratered. Her design publicly humiliated, herself discarded by Ethan. Her reputation is sewage. No firm will touch her. She rang me repeatedly. I let it ring. Finally came a hysterical text. Serena, don't gloat. Think you've won? If I go down, you come with me. Just wait. I sneered. Loser's tantrum, hardly worth a shrug. Still, I underestimated her venom. Days later, South Point's final verdict loomed. Everyone assumed Phoenix was a lock. But at that critical moment, the internet detonated. A post titled Exposed. Genius designer Serena's dirty deals and plagiarism scandal swept social media. An insider listed 3 crimes. 1. Maliciously stealing a rookie's ideas, meaning Briar and crushing her. 2. Undoing relations with Judge Victor, fixing results in advance. 3. A sex for capital swap with rival CEO Cynthia to bankroll the bid. The article dripped drama, complete with carefully clipped and photoshopped images. Victor and I discussing work in a cafe, altered to look intimate. Cynthia and I shaking hands after signing, branded a sleazy deal. Vilest of all, early Phoenix sketches side by side with Briar's urban oasis. Similar elements magnified to hint I was the plagiarist. Public fury flipped overnight. Former admirers turned into a mob. Damn, your industry is filthy. Serena's a fraud. I used to idolize her. Poor in turn. Design stolen, then crushed by capital. Boycott Serena. Boycott Phoenix. Clean up architecture. My studio phone rang off the hook. My inbox flooded with insults and curses. Cynthia called at once. "You holding up?" "I'm fine," I said. "This wave isn't big enough to drown me. My PR team is on it, but the other side planned ahead, the fire spreading. The jury just froze the announcement for a full probe." "I know who did it," I said coldly. "Besides Breyer, no one." "So what's your move?" she asked. I gazed at a dark sky outside and smiled. She likes online drama. I'll stage her a blockbuster. I had her trace Breyer's recent moves. Sure enough, Breyer had just rented a downtown luxury condo with an untraceable wire. The money trail led somewhere I hadn't expected. Ethan, I understood instantly, not Breyer's solo revenge. The two of them lashing back together. Ethan must have realized apologies were useless, so he'd picked this gutter tactic to smear me and disqualify Phoenix, clawing for a last chance. Truly a pair of shameless dogs clinging to each other even at death's door. I logged into Twitter and posted my first update since the scandal broke. The innocent will be vindicated. In 3 days, I will hold a press conference and give everyone an explanation. All members of the media and well-informed Breyer are welcome to confront me face to face. The tweet offered no explanations, no sob story, only a head-on declaration of war. In 3 days, I would make them die with their eyes wide open. The press conference was booked in the Hilton's largest ballroom. That day, every outlet in town showed up. Tripods and telephoto lenses arrayed like a Hollywood premiere. Representatives of the judging committee, and my mentor Victor sat in the front row. I wore a crisp white suit and walked onto the stage alone. Flashbulbs erupted, almost blinding. I didn't speak at once. I let my gaze move calmly across the room and finally settle on a figure huddled in the corner. Sunglasses and mask hiding every inch of skin. Breyer, she had come. "Thank you, members of the press, for taking time from your busy schedules to attend my personal clarification conference." I lifted the mic, my voice ringing through the speakers regarding the recent online allegations. "I will respond one by one. No pleasantries." I gestured for my assistant to switch the big screen to the slideshow. First accusation, plagiarism. An online article claims I stole Breyer's ideas. The truth is Breyer's proposal is a clumsy copy of a discarded draft of mine. I displayed the two project timelines side by side, every hand sketch, every 3D revision, every timestamp down to the second. All originals have been notarized. Authentic design has a growth trail, sources of inspiration, repeated refinement and failed attempts. A plagiarized work is nothing but hollow mimicry. I looked straight at Breyer and raised my voice. "Breyer, do you dare tell everyone the original spark of your so-called urban oasis? Do you dare show your process instead of a polished final board?" Under my stare, Breyer's body began to tremble uncontrollably. Next allegation. An improper relationship with Professor Victor. I offered no verbal defense. I simply played a video. On screen, Victor tutored me during an online seminar, guided my thesis revisions, and beamed like a father while patting my shoulder the day I won the Starlight Gold Medal. The clip ended on a family photo, his wife, son, and daughter smiling. Professor Victor is my revered mentor and the elder I respect most. To slander a scholar of his stature with such filthy rumors, doesn't the accuser's conscience ache? In the front row, Victor's eyes gleamed. Last accusation. A sex-for-power deal between Cynthia and me. I smiled and nodded toward her. Cynthia rose and took a staffer's mic. "My partnership with Vance is based on irreplaceable talent and the enormous commercial value of the Phoenix proposal. Every clause in our cooperation agreement is transparent. As for so-called sex for power..." She paused, sweeping the room with a CEO's aura. "I, Cynthia, do business on ability, not gender. If looks could close deals, those of us fighting in the boardroom would have it far too easy." Laughter and appreciative applause rippled through the hall. 3 charges, 3 reputations, evidence ironclad, logic airtight. Public opinion flipped again. So the mistress is yelling, "Thief! Shameless! Go Serena! Sue the slanderer into the ground." That Breyer's heart is pure poison. Breyer hadn't expected such thorough preparation. Seeing the tide turn, she tried to slip out. "Breyer leaving so soon?" I stopped her. "The best part is just beginning." I pressed the remote. The screen lit up with footage no one anticipated. The security camera in Ethan's underground garage. Ethan handed Breyer a craft envelope. She opened it, thick bricks of cash. Here's 200,000. Another 3 when it's done. Ethan's voice rang out. Remember, ruin Serena once and for all. Briar giggled. Don't worry, Ethan. I'll make sure she never gets back up. The clip ended. The room fell dead silent, then exploded. Oh my God. Ethan was behind it. Filthy pig. Disgusting. Who tries to destroy his own wife? Monster. Briar collapsed, pale as paper. And the show wasn't over. I took out my phone and dialed on speaker. Ethan's panicked voice answered. Hello, little Serena. Why are you calling, Ethan? I said, meeting the lenses. Did you watch the conference? Your surprise is a crowd favorite. You. He was incoherent. He'd seen the live feed. Me? What? I sneered. I'm simply returning your gift plus interest. Serena, you vicious witch. You'll burn for this. He finally tore off the mask, shrieking curses. I let every reporter drink in his real ugliest self. Wrongdoers doomed themselves. Ethan, you and Briar can wait for my lawyer's letter. I ended the call and bowed deeply to the hall. My clarification is complete. Thank you all. As I walked off stage, applause thundered behind me. I had won beautifully, completely. The fallout was instant. Ethan and Briar became rats crossing the street. Ethan's board convened overnight, fired him, and sued for damage to corporate reputation and assets. His assets were frozen by both the company's suit and her divorce proceedings. Overnight, the golden boy of the industry was face down in the mud. Briar fared worse. She would answer in court for libel and was blacklisted industry-wide. Word was she fled her luxury condo in the dead of night, destination unknown, and I became the biggest winner. The Phoenix scheme won the design bid without dissent. My studio, newly dubbed Phoenix, became the hottest name in town off the back of this flawless counterattack. The divorce hearing was a cakewalk. My attorney paraded evidence of Ethan's adultery, hidden asset transfers, and malicious slander. His unhinged conference call rant delivered the coup de grace. Ethan's counsel could mount no defense. The judge granted the divorce, awarding me 70% of marital property, due to gross misconduct. His company shares, largely my father's premarital investment, were ruled my personal assets and off the table. When the gavel fell, Ethan cracked, bloodshot eyes fixed on me. He lunged like a cornered beast. Serena, you ruthless! He yelled while the bailiff struggled. I never flinched. 2 bodyguards in black. Cynthia's arrangement loomed like iron towers shielding me. Cynthia had said, "From now on you shine. I'll sweep the obstacles." The guards pinned him to the floor. He stared up, all despair and resentment. Why, we loved each other once. Why do this to me? He muttered as if to me, as if to himself. For the first and last time that day I met his gaze. Ethan, I said calmly from above, you never loved me. Only the fame and fortune I brought you. Now you have nothing, and I am just getting started. I walked out of the courtroom without looking back. The sunlight outside had never felt so bright. I was finally free of that suffocating past, reborn into my own phoenix rise. But just as I thought the dust had settled, my phone chimed with another message from the unknown number. Nicely done. But you think it's over. My heart lurched. Who was this person? What did they want? I asked Cynthia to trace the number. The answer stunned me. Anonymous, virtual, untraceable. A cold premonition coiled around me, like a viper in the dark. They knew my every move, even predicted them. From the first tip about Ethan's affair to this post-victory warning. What was the real aim? If help wasn't the agenda, would they become my next enemy? 08. That cryptic text lodged in me like a thorn. I grew vigilant. Cynthia beefed up studio security. Every appearance was locked down. Yet the following month passed in eerie calm. The stranger vanished. Ethan and Briar slipped from view. My life seemed back on track. Phoenix broke ground. I lived on site and in the studio, busy beyond measure, fulfilled, even happy. I nearly forgot the ghost in the machine until the day an unexpected call came. Briar. Her voice lacked its old hysteria. An uncanny calm had replaced it. Serena. Let's meet at the site of your winning project. I have something to hand you. My gut screamed trap. There's nothing left for us to discuss, I said coldly. You'd better come, Briar laughed, a chill under the dusk. Otherwise, your perfect phoenix may stay a forever unfinished ruin. What do you mean? My pulse jumped. You'll see when you arrive. She hung up. I phoned the site manager for an emergency sweep. All clear, he said. I hesitated. Cynthia urged me to stay away. Briar, bankrupt and cornered, might resort to anything. But I had to go. Her tone wasn't bluster. If she tampered with the site, Phoenix could be wrecked. My dream, my responsibility. I too. Okay. 4 of Cynthia's bodyguards and I drove to the construction zone. At sunset, the site was empty. Steel and concrete gilded in ominous gold. At the center stood Briar in a white dress atop the unfinished foundation, wind whipping her hem like a departing wraith. You came, she smiled. What do you want? I signaled the guards to hold back and walked toward her. Nothing much. She produced a flash drive. Just a final gift for you. What is it? You'll know once you watch. She tossed it. I caught the drive. Before I could speak, Briar's lips curved in an eerie grin. Serena, I never wanted to beat you. I only wanted to drag you to hell with me. She spun around and leapt from the 10-story foundation. Everything happened so fast, I didn't even have time to scream. The bodyguards rushed over, but it was already too late. I stood frozen, staring at the foundation pit below, at that blinding patch of white and the red slowly spreading outward. My mind went blank. Why? Why had she done this? With trembling fingers, I slid the flash drive into the tablet I always carried. There was only one video file inside. I tapped it. The face that filled the screen was the last person I ever expected to see, my mentor, Professor Victor. In the recording, Victor sat opposite Briar. I heard Briar ask, Professor, you're really handing me Phoenix's core data. This is the work you and Serena have poured years into. Victor adjusted his glasses, his voice old and cold. Little Serena, too gifted, too proud. Her light will eclipse everyone, even me. Architecture needs only one god. Unwilling to be the one who creates that god and the one who destroys her. So you deliberately left flaws in her plan B to bait Ethan. You leaked plan A to me so I could challenge her and even fed the online smear campaign from behind the scenes. Correct. Victor's admission was calm. I needed a target to force her to fight with everything she's got. And I needed a sacrificial lamb to crown her rebirth legend. Briar, you're the perfect offering. The footage cut off. I felt thunder strike my skull. Ice crawled over my skin. So, the anonymous texter had been none other than the teacher I revered and trusted most. He had scripted every scene. First, he used Ethan and Briar's greed to drive me into a corner, then slipped me help while I counterattacked so I'd mistake him for an ally. His true aim was to shove me onto a pedestal through a trail of corpses and schemes, feeding his twisted hunger to fashion a god and to pull her strings. Briar's death, Ethan's ruin were nothing but discarded pawns. And I, his masterpiece, was approaching my final role. A goddess cup securely in his palm. A chill shot from my tailbone to the crown of my head. At last, I understood the message in Briar's dying stare. She hadn't wanted to drag me to hell. She had used her death to rip the mask off the devil for me. I don't know how I walked off the site. Briar's suicide and Victor's real face weighed on my chest like twin mountains. I locked myself in the studio and played the clip again and again, hunting for a single crack in Victor's composed expression. There was none. He was the perfect puppet master. Cool, rational, elegantly in control. Fear unlike any I'd known crawled over me. I had beaten Ethan, beaten Briar. Could I beat the demon sculpting me like clay? When Cynthia learned the truth, her face turned stone hard. Terrifying man, she muttered. He mapped out nearly every step. Briar's dead. No witness. We have one video with an untraceable chain of custody. It won't stand up in court. So we do nothing. I croaked. Let him keep yanking my strings. No, her eyes flashed. He wants to crown you a god. Fine, we'll play along. The higher the pedestal, the harder the fall. We spent the night drafting a gamble wild enough to kill or cure. Days later, Briar's suicide at the Phoenix site hit the news, and I was hurled back into the eye of the storm. Pundits and piracy theories swarmed. I'd hounded her to death. The project was cursed from day one. Investors wavered. That was when Victor stepped forward to protect his student. In a televised interview, he lamented, "Serena is my brightest pupil. Her talent is beyond dispute. Briar's tragedy breaks my heart. Yet, we must not let one loss negate a masterpiece or a genius's labor. He urged society to give me space and shield me from cyber mobs determined to wreck a future star. His speech, soaked in eloquence and tears, turned the tide of opinion. He believed I was once again under his thumb, brimming with gratitude. He even visited the studio wearing a fatherly smile. "Little Serena, don't be afraid. With your teacher here, no one can harm you." He patted my shoulder, his voice heavy with care. Looking at that hypocritical mask made my stomach lurch. I lowered my eyes, feigning grateful tears. "Thank you, Professor. Without you I'd be lost." He beamed. Thanks to his help, Phoenix stayed on track. For months I played the model protégé. Every breakthrough, every detail reported to him for his guidance. He savored each moment, drunk on the thrill of playing God. What he didn't know was that every report Cynthia and I served him was bait laced with hooks. We salted the project with subtle traps, non-critical walls specified with slightly substandard, though legal-grade materials to cut costs. Landscape tweaks elegant at first glance but certain to plague future maintenance. Each time I consulted him, and each time he rubber-stamped the changes to flaunt his authority. Every email, every chat log was quietly archived. 1 year later, Phoenix's core structure topped out. The topping out ceremony drew an A-list crowd. As lead designer, I stood center stage. Victor occupied the honored front row. Everyone expected a flawless curtain call. But when the host invited my speech, I pivoted. At this moment of glory, the first thanks must not go to my team or my partners, but to the man who has stayed backstage guiding me. I looked straight at Victor. He smiled, certain a tear-jerking ode to a mentor was coming. My next words snapped that smile in half. That man is the celebrated Dean of American Architecture, Professor Victor. Across the giant screen rolled the footage Briar had died to deliver. He orchestrated my ex-husband's cheating scandal, prodded Briar into plagiarism and slander, and played us all like chess pieces. Gasps rippled through the hall when the clip ended. And there's more. I gave him no room to breathe. During design and construction, Professor Victor abused my trust, directing me to use non-compliant materials and unsafe details so that after completion, he could expose those flaws and topple his wayward creation for good. The projector threw our emails, chat screenshots, and assigned revision memos onto the screen. Ironclad proof. "You vile liar." Victor sprang up, shaking, finger stabbing at me. "All of it fabricated." "Fabricated?" I sneered. "Professor, you forget you taught me to record every meeting. Remember?" I hit play through the speaker's ring. Victor's calm voice. "Use the cheaper grade here. No one will notice and we'll save a fortune." "Yes, change it exactly like that." "Maintenance headaches? That's the property manager's problem, not ours." Clip after clip, each a blade slicing away his saintly skin. The venerated scholar was executed in public by his own masterpiece at the climax of the drama he had staged. 10 investigators led Victor away on the spot. A lifetime of fame and status collapsed to dust in seconds. Prison and ruin awaited him. Watching his stunned, furious, despairing face disappear, I felt no triumph, only bottomless sorrow. He'd been a genius devoured by his own appetites. The uproar hurled Phoenix back into the headlines. Online crowds cried, "My God, can we trust this building? Substandard materials. That's textbook shoddy construction. Tear it down. Investigate everything." In stores and partners they hammered Cynthia and me. My Phoenix seemed doomed to implode in my hands. Yet just when everyone counted me out, I called another press conference. On camera, I released the third-party quality report from the nation's most authoritative testing body. Every structural element and material met or surpassed the highest national safety codes. The sections Professor Victor approved were never built, I told the lenses. What I showed him was a dummy set of drawings. The real building followed my original design. I did this not merely to trap him and gather proof, but to safeguard my work, the city's future, and every life that will one day walk these halls. A designer's soul is not talent. It is conscience. Applause rolled like thunder through the room. The year-long tempest ended in total victory. Months later, Phoenix opened to the public. Its flawless design and bulletproof quality shine as the city's newest landmark. I stand on the top floor beside Cynthia, scanning the skyline. I love. She hands me a flute of champagne. To you, she says. And to the great Phoenix. We clink and drink. I heard Ethan drew 10 years on multiple charges. He lost his mind inside and mumbles day after day. I was wrong. Little Serena, come back, please. As for Briar, I used the money she left to set up a young designer's grant in her name. It's the only farewell gift I can offer. My phone rings. My new assistant Vance the Royal just cabled. You've won this year's Golden Square, youngest recipient ever, and the first Chinese-American woman. I hang up and watch the horizon where the sun is rising blazing gold. From the despair of first seeing that video through every battle I chose, I finally understand life's real Phoenix isn't about crushing an enemy. It's about defeating the coward inside who once clung to others for breath. My choice was never vengeance or hate. My choice was to become myself. The end.